Hi, I'm Allie Cartwright, and this is Q and Allie. You've got questions, and I've got insight. And this week, we're talking about the science behind training your brain. So, this is all about neuroplasticity. And what that is, of course, you have just countless neurons in your brain, and your neurons create links between them, little pathways, and these are our thought habits and, well, really any of our habits, how we do things, how we think about things. And the more a pathway is used, the more that becomes our default. So this is all about recognizing where your brain goes to in reaction to certain things. So this affects your biases and your beliefs and your autopilots and all of that sort of thing. And it's got so many different avenues. But the big idea that you can take from this subject of neuroplasticity is that even if you have been trained and conditioned to have a really negative outlook on things, and most of us have been conditioned to have negative outlooks on many, many things. For example, our bodies. And, really a lot to do with ourselves. We are highly conditioned to be extremely critical of ourselves. But this can be about anything. So, for example, if you really hate doing the dishes, that is a thought process that you are in the habit of taking. And if you try to change your association with dishes and try to turn your thoughts to all of the pleasant things about washing dishes, the warmth of the water on your hands, the beauty of the way the light glistens off the soap bubbles, anything like that, what you're doing is you're creating these new pathways, or you're treading on these pathways that you haven't been using. And the more you do that, the stronger that pathway becomes. And eventually, if you keep training your brain that way, eventually your brain will be set up to have the habit of thinking of all the beauty and joy involved with doing dishes rather than the reasons you don't enjoy it. So it's an amazing, amazing ability that our brains have. Our brains are constantly changing, and we are constantly evolving how we think about things. And so it's really just such an amazing tool to consciously utilize so that you can create these pathways to see the world the way you want to see it. And this isn't about denying reality. This isn't about pretending that everything's good when you don't feel like it is. This is about training your perspective while being really authentic with yourself. One thing I want to warn against when you are redirecting your thoughts because you're trying to train neural pathways is stay away from criticizing yourself for having these well-worn neural pathways that you don't necessarily want to travel anymore. Because, it's programming. Our brains are actually pretty similar to computers. It's constantly taking in new code and new plugins. And so, you've got to give yourself some grace, because the more you travel those judgy, critical pathways, the more that it's easy to just do that all the time. So, this week with our meditation moment. We're doing a visualization meditation, and this is a really fun one. You get settled in to your meditation, and then you just begin to visualize all the different neural pathways in your brain, all these different connections that, electrons are traveling on, energy is traveling through on your brain, and then have them show up as different colors depending on how high vibrational they are. So we want really high frequency pathways that are following the tenets of love and joy and authenticity and awareness. And we want to tread the pathways of having a quote-unquote negative outlook on things and being judgy and berating. We want those to become a little less traveled. So what you do after you get these neural pathways visualized in your mind, all these different colors, and obviously there are tons of pathways, so you're not going to see all of them, but just create an image in your mind of some neural pathways, and you might even bring to mind something that you already know you want to shift the pathway you're following. I mentioned the example earlier about your body being, your outlook on your body being a big one. We're trained to be very, very critical of this physical form that supports us in so many ways. So perhaps you can see, a really thick, highly established pathway of, just self-hatred regarding your body in there. And then you can see this neural pathway that is pretty small of, self-love and acceptance. And what you do then in this meditation is you visualize those pathways you don't want to take. You just visualize them shrinking with every breath. And you visualize those pathways you do want to tread growing larger with every breath. And just settle into that, allowing those low vibrational pathways to get really tiny and those high vibrational pathways to get really, really, really big. And this is super powerful because our brains are really, really, really susceptible to influence from where we choose to put our thoughts. And so when we take the time to imagine this, our brain wants to make it a reality. For our mindful moment this week, it's just all about being aware of the pathways that you're treading. If you notice yourself following a thought process that is an old habit you're not really wanting to tread on anymore, then simply shift, remind yourself the pathway that you wish to follow instead. And every time you make that little shift, every time you make that choice that you want to shift that belief, you are strengthening that pathway just through your intent. Honestly, our belief in our ability to do this has an amazing impact on changing our brain chemistry. I can prove that to you in 2 words. If you've watched all the episodes of Q&L, you've heard me talk about this before, but the fact that we can alter our brain chemistry just through the power of our thoughts is scientifically proven with every human medical trial that is conducted. Every single one of them has a placebo group. And every single placebo group shows individuals that have the effect of the medication without ever receiving it. This is how powerful our minds are. It makes me laugh when people talk about the placebo effect as proving something is, not real. No, this is real. I mean, people really do cause these shifts in their mind just through their belief that it's going to change. How freaking incredible is that? And on that vein of thought, our mantra moment for this week is I choose my path. You have the ability to embrace whatever path feels right to you. You just have to really, really lean into this conscious awareness of where you are, what you are seeing around you, what thought habits and pathways you tend to tread, so that you can make this decision to choose the path you really, really want to follow. There is so much empowerment in this truth. So when you sit with this mantra and repeat it to yourself, you are helping to ingrain that pathway. This is why mantra is so powerful, because you are repeating something and you are telling your brain, this is a pathway of something, of a perspective I want to have. I want this to be a default pathway for me. So I choose my path. I choose my path. I choose my path. Every time you repeat it in mantra meditation, you are creating that neural pathway. How freaking cool is that? I just love it. I love how amazing and powerful our minds truly are. Now, one thing I want to mention with the flip side of this is, if you tell yourself something and the back of your brain is screaming, nope, don't believe it, not buying it, remember that pathway, that's a pretty ingrained pathway. And if you don't believe what you're saying, you're not really setting it in. So if you have something a pathway you're trying to create, and you just don't believe it, then you need to find a first step you can embrace. So with the example of trying to change the way you look at your body, perhaps you had the idea to have a mantra of, I love my body, but you're not really there yet. And you don't love your body. It's not there at this point. Well, a different tack to take with that is, my body does amazing things for me. And that can be a little easier to glom onto, because your body processes food and keeps you alive. Your body breathes and keeps you alive. Your body moves and keeps you alive. There's so many concrete facts that you can't get away from that your body really does do for you. And so that can be a lot easier to embrace. And then as you slide into that belief, then you can go a step further, and you can go a step further, and you can go a step further. Just keeping in mind what actually feels true and authentic to you each step of the way. And eventually then you can get to, I love my body. I really do love my body. I hope that this helps you all so much. Neuroplasticity is such an amazing, amazing topic. And the more you embrace this idea that you can train your brain to follow whatever pathway you truly want to follow, is just an incredibly empowering truth. So I really get so excited about sharing these things with you. I hope you get excited too. I hope you have so much fun this week focusing on this idea and really bringing awareness to all the different ways that your brain is trained to process things. Until next time, I'm Allie Cartwright. This is Q and Allie, and I hope that you live fully, laugh lots, and love yourself.